Now, this is definitely one of my most controversial opinions, but if you do not have your income tied to being informed on political policy or geopolitics, and monitoring large market cycles has nothing to do with how you kind of earn a living or live your day-to-day life, I genuinely think that for the average person, you should not consume the news at all. Not just less than you may already, or don't consume it on a regular basis, but genuinely be completely uninformed. For myself personally, I was raised in an extremely political and informed home. Every single day the news was on. My dad always had the news on, and he was always constantly consuming it himself and then regurgitating and telling the family and myself about what was going on and kind of the doom and gloom scenarios. This group of people is trying to destroy our country, etc., etc. But the truth of the matter is, knowing all of that information, other than simply having my limbic system hijacked and thinking and stressing and getting frustrated about the different things on the day-to-day, the actual events in my life did not change at all by knowing more. What I mean by that is the information didn't inform my decision-making really at all, other than, of course, if you choose to vote, who you may or may not vote for, but the actual day-to-day does not change nearly at all. And even if it does, it's a lot of stuff that you have no control over. For instance, you may see, based on who's in office and some of the decisions they're making way removed from yourself, you might see the prices on the shelf for certain commodities change, or you might see the price at the gas station change, or your bill may go up or down as things fluctuate, but you can't change the bill. You just have to figure out a way to afford it. When I went off to university and I was no longer under that same house, I, whether intentionally or unintentionally, just stopped consuming the news, and I noticed almost immediately how much better my day-to-day felt, how much less anxious, how much less stressed I was. And a huge ingredient for that, I think, was not getting told that some impending threat that's off in the distance just far enough that you'll probably never see it, but close enough that you're scared, was getting told to me every single day about something. I don't think that the human mind is supposed to be privy to the, first of all, number of things and number of people and people groups in the world that we have access to now with globalization and the internet. So it's just unnatural as a phenomena for me to be aware of a stabbing in London or some sort of protest in the Middle East where I'm sitting at home in the US. You know, those are on the other side of Earth. I theoretically, in a previous time before all this connectivity, wouldn't be aware. There would be no way for me to even know it. But me being stressed or angry or having any emotional connection to this far off event does nothing except make my personal experience of the day-to-day much, much worse. Again, for those that want to go into politics, they want to go into some sort of business that tracks geopolitical movements, market cycles, etc., stuff that is kind of affected by that interconnectivity of global events, by all means, indulge in the details and dive into all the information you want. But if you're just a regular person, you have a regular 9 to 5, maybe you have an online business, whatever your station is, I would challenge you to experiment with, say, 30 days, 60 days, whatever increment of consuming absolutely no news and see how your experience changes. One pushback that I've heard before, or I even thought about when I was kind of making, I guess, the decision to be holistically entirely uninformed and actually seek out like blocking news from entering my periphery, whether that be by setting boundaries with people or muting certain accounts online. When I was making that decision, I was like, well, what if something seriously important happens, you know? Like, what if there is some sort of massive event globally that would be important for me to know, say, like the pandemic that we experienced, maybe a massive, massive terror attack, a global environmental event, something to that effect. But anything that's truly, truly important will reach you because someone eventually will tell you. You simply can't insulate yourself from the really, really important events, but it's the minutia that's just destroying your life or detracting from the quality of your life that you just don't need. You don't need to know or turn on the TV every single day just to see about petty crime or strifes and arguments in court, small policy changes that are more political than they are practical. That hyper-informed, or the temptation to be a well-informed citizen, I think is a scam, and I think you're being drip-fed fear. Again, it's like hijacking your limbic system, making you in a heightened state of anxiety, and if you continue to be in that state, it's this low hum of discomfort that, because you have no basis of comparison and because you don't disconnect yourself from it, that becomes the new normal, and you think that that's what life is supposed to feel like. But on the other side of it, when you truly disconnect from that feed tube of sensationalism and essentially toxic news cycle, life and the texture of your experience in the present state just becomes so much better. You also get back a lot of your mental faculties to be able to focus on what it is that you're making now, whether it's pouring into your own self-development, building a business, your relationships. And I think that clarity in your mind, that freedom of headspace, gives you room to think about where you are in life. Am I doing what I want? Am I pursuing a mission that's meaningful to myself? Do I have a vision for my future? All of the stuff that I often talk about on this channel and am extremely passionate about, the personal, individual self-actualization cycle. It's very hard to get clarity in your head when you're constantly being fed any amount of stimulus, but especially the negatively valenced. And it's keeping your vibration down, and it's simply making your life worse, for lack of better words. It's really not adding benefit, and the pushback to be, or the temptation to be, a well-informed citizen, I would just challenge you to trial it in your own life and see if it improves. I know for myself, and I can almost guarantee for yourself, it will improve the texture of your experience, and you're really missing out on nothing. Like, it is, you lose nothing, but you seek or stand to gain so unbelievably much in how you experience your life that I think it's a worthwhile experiment. And even those that are in these fields that I've kind of alluded to that are very well connected, they would likely say that even amongst the hyper-informed, the only result from knowing more is that you really have to return to the individual level and just take care of yourself and your own family. Otherwise, you will doom pill yourself, and you will think that the world is this big scary place, and you'll get to a place where you feel kind of completely out of control, because there is so much that is out of your control in the macro. But if you don't let it into your awareness, it simply does not exist in your reality. I can't even describe to you the feeling. Another example I'll use is personally for myself, when I was in the process of trying to build out what I have now so that I could quit my full-time job. I was really burning the candle at both ends. I was working mornings, nights, and weekends, and then I had my normal 8 to 5 p.m. job every single day at a startup. So I needed to kind of win back some time in the day. So I began to start unfollowing accounts online, specifically around sports. I didn't realize how much sports content as an athlete my whole life I was consuming. And eventually I stopped watching sports altogether, just to simply win back the time for myself and what I was working on. And I remember distinctly, I just got a text from my younger brothers. They're like, yo, are you gonna watch the Super Bowl tonight? And I was like, the Super Bowl's on? I didn't even know we were through the playoffs. And this was something, I grew up watching professional football my entire life. And the disparity between being hyper-connected, knowing the season and the rankings and watching every weekend, to simply not even knowing that it was happening, it's as if it didn't exist in my life at all anymore, and you only heard about it when somebody asks. I'm telling you, the same experience is true for all of these very scary global events. You don't need to know, and if you don't let it into your brain, it doesn't exist in your life. This may, to some people, seem like stuffing your head in the sand like an ostrich and just being ignorant to the events, but like, that is exactly what I'm telling you to do. What you control and let into your awareness is what exists in your mind and your reality, which means you have the elective control to say exactly how your life feels, looks, and experiences. Control your perception, control what you let into that perception, and your life will drastically improve. So that's the call to action. Watch less news, challenge yourself to consume absolutely none of it, as opposed to just trickle feed a little bit in. I genuinely believe you will lose almost nothing in your life and you stand to gain a tremendous amount. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm way off with this, if you would challenge this belief in any way. I'm open to the discourse or dialogue on it. I know it is somewhat controversial for some people. Comment below also what else you would like to hear my thoughts on, or if you want to hear me expand on this specific topic or anything I covered. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.